Let me recognize Representative Sean Casten from Illinois.
Thank you, Ranking Member Jayapal. Mr. Ryder, you closed your opening remarks referencing the Epstein Files. I want to share a story. I was talking with a teacher in Berwyn, and she said one of the parents of one of the students in her class said, "I am less concerned about whether a masked, unidentified ICE officer seizes my child than I am with whether a child trafficker dressed as a masked, ununiformed ICE officer seizes my child." And I want us all to understand that Donald Trump is not the only child predator who is being protected by Mike Johnson, who is being protected by Kristi Noem, who is being protected by every one of our Republican colleagues who refuses to do their goddamn job right now. And we got to call that out in the same way Jasmine Crockett just did. I can get real emotional here, but I'm going to try to stay within the bounds of the law, at least for a little while. Mr. Fee, Fifth Amendment says that every American, not every American, everybody within our borders has a right to due process. 14th Amendment says that everybody has afforded equal protection under the law. The 4th Amendment, the 8th Amendment, no unlawful search and seizure. You can't be detained, cruel and unusual punishment. At what point in ICE's current process are they affording detainees with those rights?
It's difficult to identify any point in the process where they're following any of their detainees' rights consistently.
So is there a timing? When do they provide somebody with information? What's the legal basis for your detention? When do they provide people with notification of your due process rights? Ever?
In the instances that I've been involved with, it's not happened.
And is there any, I mean, we all watch cop shows, right? We all know the Miranda warning. Is there any exemption that ICE is not obligated to provide people with their constitutional protections that other law enforcement agents have?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so let me shift now to Broadview. ICE right now has this online detainee locator system, which is not mandated by law, right? They're providing this that you can look and see if somebody is being detained. That database does not provide any information about anybody in these quote-unquote temporary holding facilities, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so nobody knows. People get picked up off the street, they get swept up, they get disappeared. They don't know what their rights are, and we don't know where they are. Is that legal under any reasonable reading of the Constitution?
Absolutely not, and these folks are denied access to counsel as a matter of policy, and they're constitutionally entitled to that, and they do not receive it.
Okay. Several of our witnesses, I think Pastor Black had mentioned this, I think I'm forgetting, but several of you had mentioned that if you're breaking the law, there are consequences that can be held. I know people had mentioned our governor should maybe step up, maybe our attorney general. My understanding is that a lot of the enforcement of law is typically done by district attorneys, state's attorneys. Can you give any sense of the process for state's attorneys and district attorneys who are watching today? What process would they need to go through to prosecute ICE officers who, as law enforcement officers, are expressly violating people's constitutional protections? And whether you want to talk about breaking and entering, whether you want to talk about unlawful search and seizure, whether you want to talk about murder, I mean, all of these things seem to be happening. What is the process? Do states' attorneys have the ability to use that right now? District attorneys, what would they have to do in order to begin bringing penalties against these individuals?
I'd have to defer to my colleagues in the state government, but certainly folks have the right to get civil remedies against violations of the Constitution by federal law enforcement, and people are moving in that direction and are seeking that redress in courts.
Okay, well, I hope we can give some thought about that. California several years ago did bring charges against an ICE officer. Now, he was off duty when they did it, but there is a precedent for state officials doing that. And, you know, those of us who are out here who are angry, we're responsible for writing the laws. We don't have law enforcement authority, and I think our law enforcement partners can help. Pastor Black, I'd like to give you the final word, and I see I'm running out of time here. Speaker Johnson famously said, "If you want to know what I believe, just read the Bible." You want to preach for us of any particular passages from the Bible that he might want to be reminded of as he thinks about whether or not he should do his job?
Thank you, Mr. Casten. This is the same speaker who said that it is not a problem in his view that an American pastor, a Protestant pastor of a mainline denomination was shot in the head by ICE officers. I am reminded that the God of my religion is one who became incarnate to be among us and to suffer the way that we suffer. And I believe that Jesus is alive and active in all that we are experiencing right now, and that he is with those who are being detained, that he is suffering as they suffer. When I think, Mr. Casten, that you describe it very well when you describe this Operation Midway Blitz as a human trafficking operation, which is being federally sanctioned. We need help. When the federal government is attacking American citizens, who will protect us? The front line should not just be the brave mothers, Latina mothers, who are stepping up to organize our communities. We need every arm of our government to bring all their powers to bear to protect us, for those whose salaries we pay with our tax dollars, to protect us in real time every day.
Thank you. I yield back.